So I'm just going to jump into it. Today's book is called Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life. If you remember several weeks ago, thank you for the hearts, by the way. If you remember several weeks ago, I did a review on a book called the DBT Therapy Workbook. This book was recommended in that book, so it's kind of like an offshoot of DBT therapy, or it's a different kind of therapy. Thank you, Casey. This is a different kind of therapy, but it was recommended in that book because there's certain similarities in there. So I got this book because it was recommended through the other DBT book. This book was written by Stephen C. Hayes. So this is kind of the boring part. I'm just going to tell you who it's written by and what he does. Stephen C. Hayes, PhD, is a University of Nevada Foundation Professor of Psychology at the University of Nevada, Reno. He is author of more than 350 scientific articles and 27 books, including Acceptance and Commitment Therapy and Relational Frame Theory, 2 books that significantly develop the concepts on which this book is based on. Hi, Jack. How are you? So he's a psychology professor, a writer. He's kind of I think perfected ACT and relational frame theory type therapies. And this book is based on ACT therapy, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. And we'll learn more about that as I go. So the type of book is self-help psychology. Hi, Silgino's Men. How are you? Self-help psychology book. So the target of this book is basically anyone looking to better themselves. But in my opinion, I think this is perfect for people with addictions, people with phobias, especially people with phobias, and people who want to live a more fulfilling life. And you'll find out why I'm saying that this is probably good for people with phobias. So the focus of this book. Hi, Lula Bro. Welcome. So this book, this was kind of a tough one for me to get through. It wasn't as engaging, but my sister was born with cerebral palsy. One of my brothers is hypoglycemic. Okay, well, they have certain disabilities. This book could help both of them. But actually, I know a lot of people also on here that have cerebral palsy, and they live pretty full, great lives. So that's, it's not a bad thing to be disabled. Hi, Shane. How are you? So the focus of this book is basically overcoming personal psychological struggles by learning how to accept the unpleasant feelings associated with them. So, and that's kind of a very broad, that's probably the basis of all psychology, is teaching you how to deal with your feelings in order to, to deal with the unpleasantness of life. But this one specifically deals with just, the ugliest feelings that you can have, and it asks you to identify those and basically not to walk away from them, but instead to sort of lay with them, I guess is a weird way of saying it. So the basis of ACT therapy is we associate negative and positive feelings towards and experiences regardless of whether they are negative or positive. So for example, I'm going to give you guys an example. Hi, Frank. Because a lot of these concepts are really kind of over your head. So they were over my head. I was just sitting there reading this book, and I was like, what is this about? Hi, Frank. How are you? So I'm going to give you guys an example from my own life. When I started becoming really, really sick, when I started having some of the more serious neurological issues that I have now, I was working in Long Beach. So we have Long Beach and my illness. Those are two completely unrelated things. Long Beach is a city. My illness, Lyme disease or whatever, is something completely different. But now, whenever I think of the city of Long Beach, I kind of start to get a really weird, panicky feeling. My stomach drops. I don't I have not gone back to that city. I think I might have gone back there once early on in my illness, but I don't like the thought of going back to that. Yeah, it's really bizarre. So in my mind, I made a weird association. I did not. I got the tick bite a long time ago. I got the tick bite about a decade ago. But when I started having serious symptoms and became disabled, I was working in Long Beach. That was about 5 years ago. So now I made this weird association between the city of Long Beach and my illness, and I don't want to go to that city. I don't want to go near that city. I don't want to even think about that city. Hi, Jack. Welcome back. So this is what humans do. Dogs don't do this. Animals don't do this. Plants don't do this. We are the only people that do this. Hi, Jack. How are you? Human beings associate language with feelings, with experiences, with all kinds of things. And that's what this type of psychology is based on. So these associations, oh, that's good. Were you sick? These associations lead to suffering and dysfunction. Like I said, I don't want to go back to the city of Long Beach. Whenever I think about it, I get a sinking feeling in my stomach. And I actually love the city of Long Beach. I was born in Long Beach. I enjoyed working there. I love that city. It's a really pretty, diverse city. I just made this association in my head, and now I can't let go of it. Hi, Joe Bassa. Welcome. So we begin to avoid certain situations in an effort to avoid pain and suffering. So I'm avoiding going to the city of Long Beach or talking about the city of Long Beach because I want to avoid that weird feeling, that sinking feeling of that's where I got sick, or that's where I first started having really bad symptoms, and it's just a really bizarre association, but I associated that in my mind. Okay, Belmont Shores. Yeah, Belmont Shores is really nice too. So then you start avoiding. I start avoiding going there, or also too, another thing, this is also a big thing. If any of you guys have social anxiety, you start avoiding social situations. I'm not going to go to parties. I'm not going to go to bars or places where there's lots of people. Hi, Circa and Paula. So I'm going to avoid those situations. And it's a temporary solution to a long-term problem. That's why some people take Xanax, but you'd be surprised it sometimes does not help. Unless you are accompanying medication with therapy, you're probably not going to make any progress. So you start to avoid those social situations, and it's temporarily it relieves your suffering, but in the long run, you start to avoid it more and more and more because you just become accustomed to not being in social situations. So that leads to more dysfunction and more suffering. Learning to accept and be willing to be open to feeling this pain is the basis of acceptance and commitment therapy. So you just have to be willing to accept it. Thank you, Casey. You just have to be willing to sort of sit with your pain and sit with your dysfunction and feel it. Hi, John. And also you have to feel it without any expectation that it's going to go away. So don't go into it thinking, okay, well, I'm going to feel my social anxiety because I want it to go away. Hi, Kaysen. You just have to go into it saying, I'm going to feel it. And I'm going to be, I'm just going to feel this and allow myself to feel it and sort of be an active participant in feeling this. Everything's good. Today's been, so far so good. It's been mellow. So once you become open to this experience, it doesn't necessarily lessen your suffering, but it simply allows you to experience it. And as you experience it, I think you sort of, you just keep experiencing it, and you kind of become used to it, and you sort of recognize it. You become an observer. You start to sort of be an active participant in your life. So instead of avoiding and avoiding and avoiding, you're not avoiding, you're going out, you're in an anxiety-inducing situation, but you're living life. And it takes you through the steps of, okay, you're in this anxiety-inducing situation. Now, here's what you can do there. You just start observing, if you're at a party, start observing the people, start looking at their hair, start looking at their clothes, they give you certain techniques to try when you're in this situation. It's not necessarily going to lessen your anxiety, but it will open your experience of what you're doing. You're going to start being mindful in that experience. Oh, I can see these people, what they're wearing, how they smell, the food that's being served. So you start to become an active participant in your life. And that's the point of this book. They give a few, this book is big on metaphors because, like I said, the concepts are way over your head sometimes. So basically it says, imagine your fingers in a Chinese finger trap. When you try to take your fingers out of the Chinese finger trap, your fingers become stuck even more and more. You're trying to pull them out and the thing becomes tighter and tighter and tighter. So that's basically what's happening, when you're avoiding situations. You're pulling and pulling, and instead of things getting better, they're just getting worse. You're getting more and more stuck in the finger trap. The point is to go into your experience, and eventually the finger trap will loosen, and that will allow you to have more wiggle room, and you'll start experiencing life. The other metaphor that they used that I thought was really, really awesome was being in quicksand. So your life is basically like being in quicksand. You're sinking and sinking and sinking, and you're trying to get out. Yeah, they're great metaphors, and they're all over this book because if they explain it to you in scientific terms, you will not get this. I had a really hard time grasping these concepts. I did finish the book. I just finished it yesterday. It was not super... hi, Smiley. It was not super engaging, and it's a lot of work, actually. The book is just a lot of writing, a lot of work, a lot of mental exercise. So you're kind of in your head throughout the book, as opposed to the DBT book, where it was a lot of action. Do this, do that. And this one is less action, it's more sort of mental exercise. So basically, if you're in quicksand, you're sinking and sinking and sinking, and the more you try to get out of the quicksand, yes, thank you. The more that you try to jump out of the quicksand, the less likely you are to get out of it. You're trying to jump out of it and you're just getting more and more stuck. Then they tell you, instead of trying to jump out of it and trying to climb out of it, lay down flat on the quicksand. And thank you. Lay down flat on the quicksand, you create more surface area and you sink a lot slower, and you can actually roll your way across the quicksand to safety. And I think that's probably the best metaphor because it tells you to sort of be one with the quicksand. Be one with your suffering and with your anxiety and experience it, lay down with it, and allow yourself to feel it. And that will sort of give you the clarity in order to sort of deal with whatever you're experiencing. So that's the basis. Hi, Zoo. That's the basis of the book. That's probably the easiest way I can explain it. A lot of the concepts, like I said, were really hard to grasp. And it's like I said, it's a lot of associations. We make these associations in our life with certain things, and it's hard to break out of those associations. We're the only people that do it. We're humans. We associate words and experiences with feelings and emotions, and that's what causes all of our inner turmoil. So what I liked about this book is it's a lot of fill in the blanks, lots of worksheets. You basically can't just read this book, which was the bad part for me. You have to fill stuff in, and it asks you to fill these in as you go. What are some of the things that the guy that owned this book before me, because this is a used book, he filled out a lot of these, so it was really interesting to see. It says painful and difficult issues I experience, and he put leaving my family, getting fit for soccer, passing the fitness test, getting sick, dying. So this guy had some phobia issues, but I liked it that he kind of already filled some of it in for me. Hi, Fernando. Because then I sort of had some examples to go off of. And I didn't have the time to fill in all of this because I wanted to get the book review done in time. But I feel that because I know, well, he got through like the first chapter, and after that he just got over it. Doesn't seem like he was really interested in this, and it is a tough book to get through because it's just so much work to do. So there's a lot of filling in, which is good if you're actively doing this. But like I said, I was trying to get the book review done in time, so I wasn't filling in any of this. It has a lot of metaphors, which I said was perfect because if there's no metaphors in this book, you probably won't understand anything. It does have mindfulness exercises, meditations. It has a few, not that many. Oh, thank you, Casey. I hope it helps. It's a very active workbook, like I said, so you do have to sort of fill in all the blanks in order to grasp the concepts, and I think that's probably why I didn't get a lot of this, because I didn't fill it in. I was just trying to get through the book. It's, like I said, this is probably really good for avoidance issues. So phobias, if you have a phobia of some kind, social anxiety, anything that is an anxiety-inducing situation, I think would be good for this. The other thing I feel that this book would be really good for is people that have, I want to say people that have commitment issues. If you have issues with relationships, hi 214, if you're avoiding getting in a relationship for whatever reason, or you've had a bad experience in the past. My family is from Jalisco. I really feel like this book would be good at that. And so when I started reading this, I was trying to apply it to my chronic illness, which I felt did not fit with this type of therapy. So I started applying it more to like dating or avoiding meeting people because whatever, we have our hang-ups of, when it comes to dating or meeting a significant other. So I started sort of applying that. That seemed like an easier concept to apply to this kind of therapy than my chronic illness. And I'll elaborate on that in a bit. It also addresses and describes willingness versus want. Yes, that's where they're from. So willingness versus want. This was a really good metaphor because they tell you to be willing to experience your discomfort and your anxiety. That doesn't mean that you want to experience it. So here's the metaphor that they used. So basically, they're talking about having a little get-together at your home, and you want to see your family, so you're having a family gathering, and everybody's coming to your family gathering, and so, you invite your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, all of these people you want to see. But then you have Aunt Ida, who is not really your favorite aunt, is not really the person that you really want to see, but she's part of the family. And that's where willingness versus want comes into play. Do you want her there? Not really. Are you willing to have her there? Sure. She's welcome in your home. Yeah, she's going to come in here. She's going to kind of be obnoxious and be critical because Aunt Ida is very critical and very annoying. But, hi, Eman, how are you? But you're willing to have her there. Hi, Rodriguez. So that's the difference between want and willingness. You don't want your anxiety. You don't want your physical pain, but you're willing to experience it. You're willing to sort of sit with it for a little bit. So that's the difference between willingness versus want. So I'm just going to read this part, and then I'll talk about what I didn't like about this book. What willingness is and is not. So I really, really like this list. I feel like photocopying it and putting it up in my room. Willingness is holding your pain as you would hold a delicate flower in your hand, embracing your pain as you would embrace a crying child, sitting with your pain the way you would sit with a person who has a serious illness, looking at your pain the way you would look at an incredible painting, walking with your pain the way you would walk while carrying a sobbing infant, honoring your pain the way you would walk while carrying, honoring your pain the way you would honor a friend by listening, inhaling your pain the way you would take a deep breath, abandoning the war with pain like a soldier who puts down his weapons to walk home, getting with your pain like drinking a glass of pure water, carrying your pain the way you carry a picture in your wallet. So that's what willingness is. Do you really want to sit with a person who has a serious illness? No, but you're willing to do it. Do you really want to carry a sobbing infant? You know, not really, but you're willing to do it, you know? Willingness is not resisting your pain, ignoring your pain, forgetting your pain, buying your pain, doing what pain says, not doing what pain says, believing your pain, or not believing your pain. So it's kind of paradoxical in a way. So these concepts are a little bit out there. This is probably the easiest way to explain willingness. But the concept is, it's very, I don't know, I feel like it's like very existential. It's very out there. So that's what willingness is. What I did not like about this book, the concepts are really difficult to grasp. Like I said, they're kind of out there, kind of existential. You know, it's just, they're very, very, it's a very internal book. You know, you're very much in your mind, you know, sort of questioning the concepts in your brain, which is hard. I like more action. You know, the DBT book worked well for me because it tells you, go do this, go do that. You know, you don't just sort of sit with your mind and sort of try to, I don't know, it's just so much internal mental work. And that's kind of hard for some of us to deal with. Some of the exercises are very abstract. There's an exercise that tells you, think of a word that you associate with yourself. Like, you know, for me, the word is sick. I'm sick. I'm sick. And it tells you to say the word over and over and over and over and over again for 20 to 40 seconds. So you go sick, 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 sick for 20 to 40 seconds. And eventually, the word loses all meaning and it sort of becomes just a sound. And it tells you, you know, it's sort of supposed to make you realize that you've associated yourself with this word, but look, this word is just a sound. It's not really anything real. It's just a word. So it's a very abstract concept. It says that it's a very effective exercise for some people, but I don't think that this works very well for someone who has a concrete illness. You know, I am sick. You know, I'm not my illness, but I am sick. So it's hard to get away from something that is actually real and existing in your body. I think this works well probably for people that have low self-esteem. Like if I say, if I use the word dumb, I'm dumb. Then you say dumb, 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 and you keep saying the word, and eventually it's like, gosh, that sounds so silly. It sounds so silly that I'm associating myself with this concept that's just a word and a sound. It's not a real thing. And that sort of takes you out of your head and makes you realize, you know, dumb is just such a weird thing. It's not a real thing. It's just you, you know, it's just you feeling that way. Yeah, it makes sense, but to me, I'm just kind of like, it's such an over my head type of concept. Trying not to think certain things makes you think them more. That is true, but also I think thinking those things over and over again also doesn't really help. So it's like, well, not thinking them makes me think them more, but also thinking them, I'm thinking them. You know, that's the weird thing about this book, is that it's like a paradox. Don't force yourself not to think about them, but don't force yourself to think about them. It's like, just let it exist, you know, and that's really hard for a lot of people to grasp. And like I said, for a chronic illness, it's difficult because a chronic illness is so concrete that you know, it's tough to sort of pull yourself out of that. So that was, I think, my biggest complaint. The book is also very tedious. Like I said, you do sort of have to fill in all the charts and all of the blank spaces in order to really be an active participant in this book. So it's not, I don't think it's super effective for sick people, but it does specifically ask you to stop fighting your physical pain. And I can tell you that, you know, this does help. Years ago, I started a therapy called paradoxical relaxation. Hi, Dagsi. And paradoxical relaxation is the same concept. It asks you to stop fighting your pain and tension. You feel tension in your body, you feel pain, stop fighting it, and just feel it. Just allow it to exist in your body. And I found this to be, it does sort of help to reduce pain, but it also just helps you to sort of make peace with it. And I've had pain and dysfunction in my body for over a decade, and I've been living like this for over a decade, and I've learned to just exist this way. And once I sort of made peace with that, it didn't make my pain lessen, or it didn't make my pain go away. It didn't bring function back to these, you know, parts of my body. But for some reason, I became a lot more peaceful. I became a lot less angry. Hi, Photon. I became a lot less angry about the pain and a lot less anxious about the issues that were going on in my body. Hi, how are you? So, yes, this type of therapy can be effective for people that have chronic pain and illness. I don't think it's the most effective type of therapy, though, for people that are sick. So it does address the fact that physical pain and illness is unavoidable, you know, so you might as well just sort of feel it. But I think that's also a double-edged sword, because you don't just want to sit and feel your pain. Back to work, all right, see you later. You don't just want to sit and feel your pain and not do anything about it. And that's sort of where this type of therapy, hi Irish Stud, this type of therapy, I don't think it's telling you to just sit and feel your pain and not do anything about it, but it doesn't really tell you, it doesn't go any farther than that. It just tells you, you know, accept your pain, allow yourself to feel it, don't run from your pain, your physical pain, or your mental pain. Thank you for the hearts. It just says to sort of accept it, feel its intensity, you know, it asks you to apply different things, like what color is your pain? If your pain had a shape, what shape would your pain be? If your pain was hot or cold, you know, would it be hot or cold? You know, it does ask you to sort of look at it in very different ways, and that is very interesting. And I think that could be very helpful for people that have actual physical pain, but it doesn't really tell you to sort of take action, and that's sort of where I had an issue with that, because I don't think people should just be in physical pain. Hi, Gino. I don't feel that people should just be in physical pain and just deal with it. I think that something should be done. Hi, how are you? You know, you can't run from your physical pain, but you also shouldn't just sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm in pain, you know, whatever. So that, I don't think this book is a perfect fit for people that suffer from chronic pain or chronic illness. You're in Turkey. I'm in Los Angeles, California. So, like I've told you guys before, when I review a self-help book, I do whatever is in the book. I do try it. So I told you guys that I have tried the techniques. I'm in Los Angeles, California. Yes. I had already been doing a lot of this type of therapy without even knowing it. I do a lot of the paradoxical relaxation, feeling my physical pain and not fighting it, sort of just allowing the sensation, giving it a color, giving it a shape, giving it some kind of descriptive, I don't know, doing that. So I was already kind of doing that kind of exercise. I did the exercise of saying a word over and over until it loses meaning. It is kind of silly. It's very silly, but it does make you realize, like, you know, why am I getting so hung up over this concept when it's just a word? You know, it's just a word. You know, it takes you out of your mind a little bit. One of the things that I've actually been doing a lot lately, because it asks you, one of the actual things that it tells you to do is to try stuff that you've never tried before. Go to a karaoke bar and sing karaoke. If you never hang out with friends, you know, send them a text, see how they're doing. Or call up a friend and say, hey, do you want to hang out? I actually have been doing this, and this is one thing that and I'm still really bad at it. I'm not gonna lie about that. I'm not very good at calling my friends or going on outings with my friends. I am very, very antisocial in that way, and I don't know why. I think I just had, you know, a lot of bad experiences as a younger person with friends, so I tend to avoid that. But recently I have been going out with and making new friends, and this book tells you to sort of dive into that. You know, jump into it, jump out of the plane and skydive, as opposed to just taking baby steps, which I think, again, is a really, really hard thing for a lot of people to do. But I've been doing that, and, you know, I was hanging out with friends over this past week, and it is hard at the beginning, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Your anxiety is still there, but you learn to deal with your anxiety in those situations. So it is getting easier. It is getting easier, but I'm not all the way there. Hi, Kingsley. Welcome. It also tells you to stop beating yourself up over stuff. So sort of like I think it was not the DBT book. I think it was the other book, How to Be Sick, where it tells you to sort of be forgiving with yourself. Okay, so you went out and had a drink, even though you're a recovering alcoholic. Well, learn to forgive yourself for that. Cut yourself some slack and tell yourself, you know what, well, I made a mistake, I'm going to start over again. So if you go out, you know, to a social function and you have an anxiety attack, well, cut yourself some slack. You're new at this. Hi, MPH. So it does tell you to sort of be forgiving of yourself, cut yourself some slack, and allow yourself to experience those things. Hi, how are you? And not to say, oh my God, I'm such a loser. I had an anxiety attack. I can't believe it. I'm such a failure. No, it's going to happen. Feel the anxiety attack. Don't run from it. The point is not to stop having anxiety attacks. The point is to experience them and just to feel them. Thank you for inviting followers. So, you know, you're not a failure if you experience an anxiety attack. As a matter of fact, that is expected. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for the hearts. So, you know, you're supposed to have the anxiety attack. You know, this is not a miracle cure. It's not a magic wand that's going to make them go away. You are supposed to have these feelings, and you're just supposed to feel them. Thank you. So one of the things where I also applied this concept, even prior to reading this book, is when I got divorced. Hi, Nihat. When I got divorced, and this is something that a lot of people go through. Divorce is very, very common. You go through the divorce. You say, I hate that person. That person was an asshole, or she was a bitch. I can't stand her. I hate her. And basically what you're doing is you're rationalizing, you're covering up for what you really feel. On the inside, you're actually very sad. I'm very sad that I lost this person. I'm very sad that I couldn't work things out with this person. And I'm sad about that. But instead of feeling that sadness and allowing myself to experience that sadness, I'm going to say that they're stupid and that it was their fault, and I hate them, and I'm so glad that they're gone, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I got divorced, you know, I learned that yes, you do have a certain level of anger towards the other person, but you also have a lot of sadness. There's a great sense of loss. And one of the things in therapy that I was told to do was just to feel that loss. And I am the last person on earth that you will ever catch crying. I hate crying. I hate the feeling of needing someone, of wanting to be with someone. I mean, that is just, those two things are just, I hate those things. I do not like those feelings. And instead of running from that, I said, you know what, you're just going to have to deal with this, and you're just going to have to get through it, and you're going to cry, and you're going to be sad, and you're going to miss him, and you're going to, whatever. So instead of fighting those feelings, I just sort of laid with them. I didn't, I wasn't like, oh, I want to be sad. I didn't. Remember, willingness versus want. I don't want to be sad, but I'm willing to be sad, and I'm willing to feel that. So I did. So, and it took me probably a good year after I left my husband to feel all those feelings and to actually get to a place where I felt better. But I actually had to feel that for a year and feel the sadness and the crying and all of that. And, I think when people fight it more, when you fight those feelings and you're like, oh, he's, going through going through the feelings, not staying in those feelings. And when you avoid those feelings, that's another basis of this book. When you avoid those feelings come at you harder. Avoiding the feelings is only going to amplify them. They're going to chase you. They're basically going to chase you, and they're going to harass you until you, fall apart, and that's a problem. When you run away from them, they're just going to keep chasing you. If you walk towards them, actually don't walk towards them, walk with them, basically. Hi, Jack, welcome back. So walk with them, don't run from them, don't run towards them, just walk with them. So yeah, I have tried a lot of the techniques in this book. Yes, they are effective. I will tell you they are effective. But in order to apply this to somebody who has a chronic illness or chronic pain, I think it would be much more difficult. I think it's going to be a lot harder for a sick person to really to really benefit from this type of therapy, in my opinion. I mean, there may be some people out there that say, this is perfect for me. Would I recommend this book? I think the concepts, if you're studying psychology, if you're studying to be a psychologist, yeah, I would highly recommend this. Hi, Mr. Drone 007. If you're studying psychology, or if you're interested in psychology, or if you're interested in a totally different type of therapy, hi, how are you? Then yes, I would recommend this. If you're really into this kind of thing, I would definitely recommend it. It's a tough one. Andre, hi Andre. It's a tough one to get through. I'm not going to lie about that. You have to do the exercises. You have to fill in the blanks. So it's a very time-consuming book. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to read this book, you better be committed to it. You better fill in the blanks, which I did not. Because, like I said, I wanted to get this book review done in time. The concepts are kind of hard to grasp. Like I said, it's very out there. It's very brain-based it's very internal as opposed to external. It's good for specific things. Phobias, social issues. I think it's really, really good for social issues. If you have social anxiety, if you have dating issues, meeting people, and you just don't like to mingle with people, this is very good for that. Hi, Rick. Welcome. Like I said, I don't know how well this would apply to chronic illness, so if you are a chronically ill person, I don't think I would recommend this book for you. I would rather have you read the DBT book. I think that one would be more effective for somebody with a chronic illness that is trying to learn to deal with the emotional aspects of a chronic illness. This type of therapy, I think, is a little bit more for avoidance issues. So if you're sick and you have avoidance issues, which I do, you know, I avoid friends, I avoid family because hi Ismail, I avoid friends and family because of my illness, because I'm scared, you know, well, I feel sick, what am I going to do? Then yeah, this type of therapy would be effective for that. But it's not necessarily effective to deal with your illness or with your pain, necessarily. So this book is a little bit more of a challenge. So would I recommend it? I wouldn't recommend it unless this is something you're very, very specifically interested in. If you're sick, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I would rather go with the DBT book. I would rather go with How to Live Well with Chronic Pain and Illness, which I also reviewed. And if you want to see all of those reviews, my YouTube link is here in my profile. And all of those reviews are on there. They're really great reviews. And I would definitely check that out. And yeah, check out all of that. Check out my website. Follow me on Twitter, hotsun100384. And yeah, that's all I have for today. And yeah, if you want to read the book, read it. But I'm telling you right now, it's a hard one to get through. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for all the hearts. And I will see you again soon.